Stop the insanity. Get focused on what really matters in life. Your faith, your family, your finances, and your future. Now sit back and change the trajectory of your life. This is Money for Life, brought to you by the 100-Year Savings Solution. Are you concerned about the markets? Stop taking unnecessary risks with your money while also getting great benefits. Visit us at 100yearsavings.com. Now, let's welcome your Money for Life hosts, Teresa Kuhn and Rick Sapio.
Welcome, everybody, to Money for Life. I'm so excited to be with Coach Burt today. Coach, you've been around for a very long time, and tell us how you got into the coaching business.
Well, I actually was a women's basketball coach for over a decade and was very interested in the inner engineering of people from a body, mind, heart, and spirit perspective. I was a deep disciple of Covey from 18 to 25, so I kind of become known as a person that could get more out of players, more potential. So people were constantly asking me how to do that, how I did it, how we won games, how we built these national championship players. So I started writing books about it. And when I started writing books about it, business people began to call me and say, will you come speak to our people? I would go speak to their people. Then they'd say, well, will you coach our people? And so at 31 years old, I retired from athletic coaching and started coaching business people from around the world on really how to activate their prey drive, how to perform at a much higher frequency, and how to get more results, typically in sales. So that's kind of how we ended up here at 44 years old. So that's what I've been doing the last 13 years.
Well, in the last 20 years, coaching has really taken off. How do you differentiate yourself and what you offer to your clients from the world of coaches? Because everybody is a coach these days.
You know, and I think there's over 700,000 people in the United States that call themselves a coach. The average income of most of those coaches is $47,000 per year. I would tell you, you don't want to get business advice from somebody producing $47,000 a year. Okay. So I think the way I differentiate myself is my background, my pedigree. I was a true championship coach. I did have to take people from all walks of life, all socioeconomic backgrounds, and merge them into a culture that produced national championships. Then when I started my business, I had to build a business from nothing. No lines of credit, no investors. We have built a multi-million-dollar coaching company. We do have true selling systems, true follow-up, true extraction of referrals, true person of interest strategies. So I would tell you that when you're picking a coach, you need to pick a coach that's actually done what you're trying to do versus somebody that just woke up one day and called himself a coach.
So what do you think specifically what you offer your clients differentiates you from all the other coaches? Like, what is your niche and area of expertise?
I think my true expertise is the ability to activate the prey drive in a person. Prey drive being an instinct to see something in the mind or with the eyes and have the persistence and intensity to pursue it. So I have created unique processes, unique proprietary processes to activate that, unique methodologies to grow a business. And I would tell you, very few coaches are really interested in growing the whole person. There's a lot of sales trainers that teach sales technique, but they don't understand the true deep psychology of activating the body, the mind, the heart, and the spirit. And that's really where Covey comes in. From 18 to 25, I really studied the whole person. How do you activate the skill, the knowledge, the desire, the confidence of a person? Most people are teaching sales technique, but they do not have a deep methodology. It's cotton candy. It's a technique. Okay, how good? Why does it matter what skill you use if you don't have any confidence?
And when you say prey, you're talking about P-R-E-Y.
Yep. Just like in an animal. An animal has a prey drive. It is the animal's ability to stalk, capture, and kill prey. Like that cheetah print outfit you've got on today. A cheetah has a prey drive.
You know, I'd like to say I did it on purpose, right? It was by design. I knew we were going to talk about prey. This is a message from our sponsor, the 100-Year Savings Solution. Rick and I do these podcasts because we want to impact people's lives in 4 areas: their faith, their family, their finances, and their future. And with the 100-Year Savings Solution, it gives you more options to live a better life in those 4 areas. It is a specially designed whole life insurance policy that gives you more for your money than you'll ever get from a bank, a CD, or the traditional savings solution. Go to 100yearsavings.com to learn more. You know, it's very interesting. I've got a colleague that was a basketball player with Baylor, female basketball player. She is relentless. I love learning from her and watching her because she's got this spirit of, I want that. And no matter what, I'm going to get that from where I am, point A to point B. And there's just a relentless energy to her. And it's contagious. I absolutely love it. And I admire it. I respect it. I'm learning from it. Not that I'm a slacker, because I never have been a slacker, but I'm observing. And oh my goodness, Coach, being around people like that, if that's what you offer and you've got a team to support that and you're building that from the ground up, I can absolutely appreciate how that can totally transform an organization.
Yeah, when you look at organizations, 67% of Americans say they're disengaged with their work. Their prey drive has not been activated. So they are going to work physically in the body, but they're not there mentally, emotionally, spiritually. They're there, but they're not there, which is why you see so much disengagement in the United States, a lot of complacency. And so think of the prey drive as that instinct inside of a person to see something and pursue it. But for some reason, that prey drive has been latent or undeveloped. I think about my own wife, for example. You know, my wife did drugs every day from 21 to 24. She had no direction. She had no guidance. She had no purpose. She really didn't have any dreams. She was working in a dead-end job that she hated. And her company paid for her to come to one of my workshops on a book I wrote many years ago called This Ain't No Practice Life. And it's the first self-help book she'd ever read at 30 years old, by the way. And she came to that workshop. She read that book. It transformed her thoughts. She then quit the job she hated, started her own catering company. We eventually went on to get married and have two beautiful kids. And now she manages millions of dollars of real estate that we own. She's writing her own books. She's doing her own things. So what happened to her? Her prey drive was activated. It was there. It was inside of her, but it was latent. It was undeveloped. She had not been exposed. See, exposure is an activator of prey drive. Environment is an activator of prey drive. Your friend that played at Baylor probably had an incredible coach that taught her how to activate that drive, or she was in an environment to activate that drive. So athletes and coaches that came from the athletic world have an intensity. They have a persistence. They have a different time system than most people operate on. They have a different pursuit of their goals. And when I came to corporate America, I said, what's missing here is an intensity. What's missing here is a daily pursuit. What's missing here is the daily effort it takes to be great, because in the athletic world, we repeat things over and over and over. There's high degrees of repetition. There's high degrees of muscle memory. There's high degrees of intensity. And then I came from the locker room to the boardroom, and I'm like, man, these people don't have any intensity. They wake up in a static position. They don't move toward anything, right? And so I kind of bring that intense and positive intensity to the people I coach. And sometimes that one thing alone activates their prey drive. They're like, man, we just want this little dude around, because when he's around, we're more motivated.
It's contagious, right? Motivation is contagious. You're so right. You know, you meet so many people in this world that are just, they're walking dead. They're zombies. They're static. They may be excited about something, but you wouldn't know the difference between their excitement and their non-excitement. So you talk about activation, but then there's, once you're activated, you've got to stay activated and stay up. How do you do that?
Yeah, I want you to think of it in components. The first component is activation, which I think can happen. To me, that's the easiest part. I can see something and it activate my prey drive. Like I have a beautiful office here in Nashville. It's 9,000 square feet. It's called the Greatness Factory. It's this unique destination location. It's overlooking Titan Stadium, the river, downtown Nashville. Like you can walk into this building and your prey drive to do something bigger is activated. Okay. But it can go away like cotton candy. It tastes good for a second and it goes away. So the second and third component of prey drive is the persistence and the intensity of the prey drive. So persistence is long obedience in the same direction. It's the willingness to not listen to our feelings, to make a decision to go pro, to show up every day and work the muscle and make the phone calls and do the follow-up and do the things that become habits, right? That build this. This is why I think people need to be in coaching programs. I think when you're in a coaching program, it's that coach reminding you and reactivating that drive. I meet with my team every morning, primarily not to teach them everything I've learned, but to reactivate their prey drive. In what parts? Body, that's physical. Mind, that's mental. Heart, that's emotional. Spirit, that's spiritual. And when I can activate all four parts of a person's nature every day, then they are ready to go into battle. They're like the cheetah that has a 60% close ratio, that wakes up in the morning and is going hunting, is going out and pursuing something. That's what I'm trying to do with the people I coach every day, is to get them in this mindset of initiate, right? So here's what happens with most people. Most people, they start with good intention, they fail to follow through, and then they experience guilt. That is human nature. I got excited. I saw Coach Burt speak. I watched his video. I went to one of his boot camps. Man, I'm on fire, right? I was talking to a guy yesterday. He said, gosh, man, I said, when you left my boot camp, man, you were so on fire. He's like, I know. And then I came home and then I lost my mojo and then I got busy. And he doesn't understand the long obedience in the same direction. The people that are great work for years in a cycle where they are working that muscle and becoming great. They are mastering their skill. They're not dabbling with it. They're not casual with it. Okay. Now, I don't know Rick, but one of my good friends, Matt Monero, speaks very highly of Rick. He must be very good. He's probably been doing what he's doing a long time, right? And getting better and getting better and getting better and getting better. The greats have this long obedience in the same direction. And that is the part that's missing in most Americans.
Our philosophy is long-termism, the 100-year horizon. And I believe that thinking long-term keeps you in the game, and you understand that there's an energy you've got to have to stay in the game for 100 years, right? Or stay in the game the long term. And I've been doing what I do for a very long time. And I recognize I am the best I've ever been. If I had quit a long time ago, if I had stayed stagnant a long time ago, I wouldn't have the success that I'm experiencing now, right? And I see my son who's 24 years old. He's an entrepreneur, business owner. I see the amount of energy it takes to start a new business and to build that business where you've got momentum. It takes a lot of energy, a lot of focus. It's moving this huge boulder up a mountain. And you know the amount of energy that takes.
Yes.
I can't imagine doing that energy without the kind of coaching that you're talking about. And I've had the benefit of great coaches over the years, but I just love your energy and I love what you're talking about. There's something in all of us, probably most of us, we want to be liked, we want to please. And many times that goes against what we want. On the one hand, we want to please others, we want to be liked, we want to be accepted, but that's an energy against going after what we want. How do you coach your clients through that conflict?
We call that a consideration in our coaching program. And a consideration is an internal thought that you have that prohibits you from taking an action, an external action. Meaning, I don't want to follow up with you because I'll feel like I'm harassing you. I don't want to I don't want to be seen and heard because I may offend people. I don't want to make a statement or stand for something because I could lose people. Right? Like these are internal thoughts that prohibit external actions. And I think at some point, what I try to do in the people I coach is remove that, because that is a fear. Right? Fear is like an unpleasant emotion created by a belief that something's going to harm me. It came from somewhere, a belief. Where did the belief come from? Somewhere in the past, right? And so I think what I try to do with the people I coach is to activate. Part of the prey drive is the instinct, right? It's the instinct to take an action, even when it's uncomfortable. It's the instinct when you see an opening to take it. It's the instinct to go for it and make a decision. Like the word decide, we say in the South, decide, right? In Nashville, not decide, it's decide. And decide means to kill off. We're killing off fear, insecurity, doubt. I think big time people help people make decisions. And to do that, you got to push people some. It's got to be uncomfortable some. I got to say, hey, I can't help you till you commit, but once you commit, I'm not going to let you fail. Now, if you want to do it, what would stop you from doing it right now? This is very uncomfortable for people, right? They're afraid that people may not like it. Look, Covey used to teach between stimulus and response is a space. And in that space lies my ability to choose my response. I can't control your response. All I can control is my stimulus. So, right? Why does it matter? Some will, some won't. So what? We just got to keep on moving. I'm not looking for everybody. I'm only looking for people that are looking for me.
So what's your ideal client? Who do you work with? Is it the big companies, or do you have programs for the individual entrepreneurs, independent contractors who need this kind of environment and culture around them, but they're working on their own, right? Today, we're living in a world where hundreds of millions of people are on their own working. And they're isolated and they've got to motivate themselves. But if you don't know any better, guess what you're thinking all day long, right?
Yeah, we have different programs. Actually, we're coaching about 550 small business owners, what I would call small business owners right now. Some of those are solopreneurs all the way up to running small companies. So we have a division called Monster Producer. That is my individual coaching division. People from all over the world are in that program. It's set up similar to a church model, as I teach X number of times per month. Every Monday, I do a live call with the group. Every Tuesday and Thursday, I do a short rhythm. Every month, I do a long form live version of which we simulcast around the world. There are people in the room, and that program has been very popular. That's for individuals, entrepreneurs, sales professionals. And then I also coach companies companies bring me in to activate the prey drive in their people, typically to get some type of sales results. And those could be small size to $1 billion companies. Anyone that's looking to get a lift or significant increase in their business would be interested in bringing somebody like me in.
Great. Talk to me a little bit about money. You've got some very strong opinions in the world of money and finance.
You know, I grew up, as I'm sure most people do. My mother doesn't like for me to say we were poor because she was a single mom working 2 jobs. But, you know, when I look back on it, we were not even middle class. And I had a lot of scarcity about money. When I was a basketball coach, I made anywhere between $24,000 and $60,000 a year. I worked 80 hours a week, every week. And when I was 25 years old, when I wrote my first book, I got asked to speak at Dell Computers to the managers. And you talked about the transformation of coaching. This was in the early 2000s. So business coaching was new, right? If you remember in the 90s, it was Tony Robbins. But in the early 2000s, it was kind of unheard of to have a business coach. I mean, it was new. It was a new thing, not like it is today. And so when Dell Computers, which was in Nashville, brought me in, I spoke for an hour and they gave me a check. And that check was more in an hour than I made in a month. And it was the first big revelation that I had. I talk about this in my book, Single Digit Millionaire, where there are people who will pay me at a much higher level than what I'm currently doing. I just made more in an hour, basically disseminating my structures than I made in a month. It was a huge revelation for me. And I spoke at a banquet and a person said, man, you could go on the circuit. And I'm like, what circuit? He's like, well, it's a circuit where people go around the world and speak like you're good. And I'm like, okay. So I went home and I researched it. And that was really my first even thinking about money. Up until that point, you know, I worked, I made a salary, I couldn't get income. If you would have come to me at 25 and said, hey, you could be a millionaire, you could be a multimillionaire, you could have a private jet, you could fly around the world, I'd be like, well, why would I want to do that? Like, I'm happy. Like, I love coaching, right? But at 31 years old, I was having success. A company at a speaking engagement said to me, we're going to pay you like $150,000 to be our coach. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is crazy. $150,000? I'm like, okay, I'm in. And so I didn't know the difference between an asset and a liability. I really didn't. I went to the bookstore and I bought a book called How to Grow Your Financial IQ by Robert Kiyosaki. Now I've come to see that my good friend Sharon Lecter wrote the first 10 books with Kiyosaki, and she and I are good friends now. And I began to learn about money. And I began to really understand the difference between assets and liabilities. I began to see how I could convert liabilities to assets. I began to see associations of how I could create unique experiences that people would pay for. I've learned how to generate $250,000 in 2 days, not a year. And I began to see money as a tool to use to grow, right? Like it's a piece of paper. It's of no value unless it's utilized. It's energy circulating around the world. And if you're afraid of losing it, you have a hard time getting it. And so over the last 10 years, I've really developed new mindsets about money that are still probably controversial in Nashville in the South. But now I see money as a tool to grow and to expand. I really just see it as paper that's energy, that if it's not utilized, it's of no value.
So where can people learn more about your philosophy on money and on coaching and on personal and business development? I know you've written a bunch of books, but tell us which ones you love and you believe make the most impact.
You know, I think my book, Everybody Needs a Coach in Life, is kind of my core philosophy. I write very specific books. Person of Interest has been very popular for me. And Single Digit Millionaire is a book about how I went from a high school basketball coach to where I am today. The new book, Flip the Switch, will be out in 2021, which is how to activate the prey drive in you and your team. And they could go to coachburt.com. If you like today, go to YouTube, watch my videos, and then think about me being your coach. Everybody needs a good coach in life. A good coach can change your life. A good coach will drastically accelerate your path in life. And that's all we do all day, every day, is coach business people in how to play at a higher frequency and get a significant increase in their business.
Absolutely love your energy. It is not an accident that I just learned my colleague who I've been working with for several years now. And literally, I just learned on Monday that she played for Baylor basketball and it clicked. I'm like, no wonder you are so relentless. I want what she's got. I want what you've got. Coach Burt, thank you so much for coming on Money for Life. You are right up our alley. And I hope, audience, you have enjoyed this conversation as much as I have.
You have just experienced the Money for Life podcast, brought to you by the 100-Year Savings Solution. Implement these strategies today and create a life by design. For more information, visit 100yearsavings.com. Have a blessed day.